Guys, please maintain the decorum. Good evening, distinguished guests, member of the faculty, and my dear friends. I welcome you all to the opening day of Conventus'23, the annual management conclave of International Management Institute, New Delhi.
Conventus, as the name suggests, owes its origin to the Latin word which implies coming together. When I say coming together, it's not used figuratively, but it implies coming together of ideas backed by professional, industry leaders, entrepreneurs, and stakeholders from various industries to foster collaboration for mutual growth and advancement in their respective fields.
My fellow comparee Ashutosh and I, Gitika Sharma, shall take you through the summit of Conventus'23. This year, Conventus is structured around the theme Embracing the Wind of Change, with our sub-theme being Assimilating Proactive Opportunity, Walking the Talk with Agility. To set the context, COVID was the biggest disruption of 21st century and a black swan event which in hindsight changed the way businesses operate. It poses us with a pertinent challenge which needs thorough course correction, and through our summit, we aim to acknowledge and address these changes in the context of sales and business development.
Assimilating proactive opportunity, walking the talk with agility implies a commitment to swift execution and adaptation, allowing sales teams to seize opportunities as they arise. It encourages sales teams to not only react to market shifts but also to anticipate them. For development departments, the concept entails being preemptive in identifying technological advancements, customer feedback, and industry disruptions that can shape product or service offerings.
Together, this concept underscores the interplay between sales and development. Sales team provide market insights that guide development efforts, while development team create the product and services that sales team can further leverage to capture opportunities. Before we proceed any further, we would like to play the Conventus'23 theme video.
The pages of history remind us of the reality that our world can swiftly change its course. Events like pandemics, economic shifts, and unexpected crises echo through the fabric of time. Like a ripple effect, the consequences of these events rapidly reshape the present, creating the perfect chance to gear up and pave the way for an unforeseen future. Adapting to the RUPT paradigm that signifies rapid, unpredictable, profound, and transformative is essential to tread the waters where constant change is the norm. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes, businesses that skillfully surf such changing tides, using hurdles as stepping stones and transform challenges into opportunities, emerge triumphant. To learn from their success, we must reflect on their experiences and grasp what sets them apart.
The video set the stage by delving deeper into the dynamic landscape of change management and organizational agility.
Now, without much ado, we would like to introduce our guest speakers. It is with great pleasure that I introduce our distinguished speaker for today, Mr. Om Batra. He is presently heading the Sales Excellence and Strategy team at Microsoft in the position of Director. Prior to this, he worked with Google as an Enterprise Partner Sales Manager, India. With an extensive background in enterprise sales, business development, alliance and channel management, and operations management, he brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the forefront. As a seasoned professional, he has excelled in new ventures and high-paced organizations, showcasing a remarkable track record of performance with and highly passionate about cloud service business, cloud computing, cloud market dynamics, software as a service, and hosting. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in extending a warm welcome to a true luminary in the field, Mr. Om Batra. Now I request the moderator, Dr. Dharmendra K. Batra, to please extend the warm welcome to Mr. Batra with a bouquet. Thank you, sir.
Today, we have the honor of hosting esteemed guest speaker whose achievement and expertise has left an indelible mark on business and e-commerce. Let's welcome Mr. Prasoon Sharma. Currently, he is responsible for driving consumer sales at Intel Corporation. Previously, he has served as board member at 1H Media alongside mentoring startups after having successfully heading sales and business development at Motorola and Smartphone. You will be intrigued to know that he was instrumental in pioneering the go-to-market model by selling mobile phones via Flipkart when e-commerce as a channel accounted for less than 5% of the overall smartphone sales. Also, he is responsible for devising strategic plans to relaunch Motorola as a brand in several Southeast Asian countries with great success. Now, I request D.K. Batra sir to please extend a warm welcome to Prasoon Sharma. Sir, we are honored to have you with us today.
We are extremely delighted to have Mr. Ganesh Kumar here with us today, who has spent over a decade at Canon India and is currently serving as the Assistant Director of Modern Trade, Partner Business Center. Prior to Canon, he worked with TVS Electronics for over 14 years. Mr. Kumar has had a vast and wide-ranging career in the domain of sales and marketing. He has tremendous knowledge and experience which has been reflected in his journey. He has not only spearheaded several business initiatives but also implemented them successfully. As a result of this unparalleled experience in the field, he has made significant contribution to the industry. I request Dr. Dharmendra Batra sir to please extend the warm welcome to sir. Sir, we are truly privileged to have you us with today.
It's with great pleasure that we have the honor to host Mr. Anubhav Kumar Jain, whose illustrious career in cement manufacturing industry spans nearly 2 decades. With wealth of experience and an exceptional track record, our esteemed guest, Mr. Anubhav, currently serves as a regional head at Ultratech Cement. Throughout Mr. Jain's remarkable journey, he has been the driving force behind the success and growth of his company. His extensive tenure in the industry stands as a true testament to his deep understanding and invaluable contribution to the industry. As a student, we take immense pride in his fervent dedication to academia. He has consistently been invited to guest lectures for CRM at some of the most prestigious institutes nationwide. Now, I request D.K. Batra sir to please to give him a warm welcome. Sir, we are indeed fortunate to have you on board today. The moderator for Sales and Business Development Summit is Dr. Dharmendra K. Batra. He is the area chair for marketing domain at IMI and holds a PhD in management and an MBA in marketing from Faculty of Management Studies. He has worked as advisor to Ministry of Information Technology and authored many books and research papers. He has provided consultancy and training services to various corporations like Raymond's India, Madura Garment, Gokuldas Export, and also worked as a consultant to International Trade Center, Geneva. Now, I request Secretary of our student body, Mr. Ayush Mishra, to please extend him a warm welcome.
Let's have a round of applause for Mr. Batra, who will further convene the panel discussion with his engaging questionnaires.
The next round of the summit would be further convened by D.K. Batra, sir.
Thank you very much for a very description that doesn't befit me. It's a very kind word said by them. I wanted to make a correction. I'm not the area chairperson marketing anymore. I'm heading the executive program, PGDM program. I would like to welcome all the guests here and also welcome the students in this wee hours of the late evening. And not going to keep you away from your, I promise we'll finish it on time. I hope this discussion is going to be very fruitful and a learning experience, for sales is the heartbeat of the top line and the bottom line. I think sales is a very topic which is given one of the not prominent, because everyone talks about marketing and brand management, and I'm not going to put the role down, but I think the disruption that has been talked about since this morning has been an exciting thing for me personally. I did attend some of the summits, and I also went to my room to do that login to look at it online. There is this disruption which happened, as was said, during the corona times, when there was only pessimism, paralysis, and a fear in the mind of the customers, in the mind of sellers most of all. And I think everyone started thinking, what should I do? Will I lose my job? What should I do? Should I shift? Will Corona ever happen? And it did pass. I think there was the same scenario when I remember in 2008 when there was a meltdown. Everyone said, this is the first and the last time I've seen something like this. I think if we were to look at the history, in 1992 the same thing happened. I think what has happened is the winds of change have changed. So when we say embrace the change and embrace the disruption, and the RUPT is the theme for today's event. It's very important that we've got such illustrious speakers, and I would want the students to not only listen to them but also interact with them towards the end, to look at various aspects which are there in sales and marketing. To begin with, there has been this discussion always with the war between marketing and sales. I think that bridge, the distance between them, the hiatus is now getting bridged, and we're moving towards a society and business realm in which we're going to be watching now salespeople performing a lot of other roles that they hadn't performed earlier. Analytics coming in, salespeople are now using that to do precision marketing, to do a one-to-one marketing. Companies going on omni channels are discovering new benefits of doing an online to offline to online to offline. To many dropship models have come in, gone, changed the nature of retailing, changed the nature of businesses like Canon or Microsoft, Intel. We have such illustrious speakers from Ultratech, looking at the business from a completely different perspective. So to begin with, my first question is to everyone. Start with Anubhav ji, which is about how do you see this disruption? Has it changed this business of sales in your company and the companies that you see around yourself? Can somebody help him with the mic, please? Is this working?
I think it's working. Thank you. Disruption, sir, I feel is a part of the process. And we are living in a VUCA world. You cannot predict how selling channels or selling function will behave 5 years down the line. There is immense increase in competition. Competition brings in new things, new offerings, but one thing is there, that you need to understand the customer much, much better than what we were doing up till now. I belong to a commodity industry, cement. So if you leave Ultratech, almost all companies are equal, almost all other brands are similarly placed. So how does the consumer make the choice for a particular brand? There are people working for other brands also. If I sell at a premium, then it doesn't mean that everybody sells at a premium, but others have to survive. I too need to understand that I maintain the PBDIT. I am the market leader. I need to have the highest top line, bottom line, highest delta top line, highest delta bottom line. So this disruption is basically moving towards more understanding of the consumer. So I will speak on something that supports this in later questions.
Thank you very much. I think two quick points that we came from distinct or extinct. From Anubhavji's point of view in terms of the delta part of it. It's also important to see that how companies like Ultratech, when there is a lot of similarity between companies, are now striving not only to match competition but dominate competition. I think it's very, very important for salespeople to pick up this philosophy, which is with the young students over here, dominate the competition, not meet. You meet the competition, you're throttling your own throat. I would request Prasoonji to take us through the disruption part in the company, because it's a technology-driven company that he works with, and with the likes of competitors, I won't name them, getting into different kind of platforms and gaming and a lot of other things that we're discussing emerging. What do you think is disruption going to head us where? And how is it going to make a difference to the salespeople like us? For to look at Intel as an important organization.
See, if you look at the technology landscape in the last 3 years, pre-COVID and post-COVID, there is a big difference in how consumers are consuming products, right? Whether it's a technology product, whether it's anything for that matter. The technology industry had to kind of accelerate 2x or 3x in these 2 years to kind of match what the consumer wants. There was a way, for example, in my industry, the products were sold. They were sold with a vision that if a customer buys the product, he will buy the product after 6 years. That's not valid anymore. People are refreshing faster. People are taking a product for multiple uses, right? That's where I think I agree with my previous speaker that understanding the consumer need and kind of transforming yourself to align to that and to be able to give what they need is very important. And from a competition standpoint, I always, whenever I work with my team as well, I always say one thing. There's a lot to learn from competition. So while you have to match competition or probably beat competition in terms of numbers and all, there are a lot of things that probably the competition is doing better, and that's why they are kind of challenging you. So it's kind of important to keep your radar up, kind of imbibe a lot of what feedback you are getting from the market and kind of learn from it.
Wonderful. I think we looked at this perspective on competition from one of the major leaders in the area of technology. It's also important to bring us this learning to even non-technology products. But we have another speaker, Mr. Om Batraji. I request him to speak not only on the disruption, but how Microsoft and his experience with Google earlier on the this particular business that he's heading, and what are the kind of things you would want these young future managers to carry back home in terms of competition, in terms of technology business, and how would the sales be driving their future? Batraji.
I think great question. Am I audible? Hello. Yeah, thanks. I think great question, but let me set the baseline first. At least within the four walls of this room, you are the smartest folks sitting in front of us, okay? We are not the smartest guys. You are the smartest folks. And you are the consumers. Just look at your own life, how you have been buying. What are your buying habits? How it has changed? I'm sure just look back at the conversation your parents have with you. You know, I'm just going back to my own conversation with my daughter. Papa, आप ऐसे खरीदते हो, हम ऐसे खरीदते हैं. Correct? So there's a deep change in the consumer buying behavior which he just touched upon. What is triggering this? We'll not touch upon digital transformation. I'm sure you as in academics, being students, are so much aware of digital transformation, and it's one of the most abused words today, correct? I need not to talk about the disruption. You are looking at disruption. The way Uber, Ola has disrupted the taxi hiring business, the way Airbnb and likes of, you know, the OLX or the Netflix have changed the entire business mechanism. Correct? You know, Netflix used to rent DVDs, and then, you know, the buying consumer behavior, correct? The economic scenario, the competitive scenario, and that landscape compelled them to change their business model. And by the way, they were one of the most agile companies, you know, in those eras to look at the changing economic scenario and the changing economic buying behavior of the consumers. Look at examples from, say, Uber or, say, Netflix, correct? Analytics plays a very big role in the way consumer buys today, correct? You won't even realize that when you buy from Amazon, you know, every single aspect of your buying behavior is captured. Every decision which is being taken today is data-driven, is analytics. Now I'll come to the point which Professor Batra mentioned, that how the sales getting changed. The three pillars, you know, when you talk about the sales, the BD and the marketing function, the lines have blurred, okay? Today, these three teams, so-called three separate teams today, carry same goals and objectives in an organization, okay? It might not be very similar industries like, you know, say cement industry, or say in the technology world, or in, say, the consumer good industry, but the lines are blurring, and, you know, you will hear their point of view at one point of time. In the sense, the marketing, the BD and the sales are pervasive. They work hand in hand. They sit together in one room in terms of deciding how do we reach out to customer, how do we bring the customer to a particular product or a services, and what role does a BD plays in terms of converting that particular consumer or a target consumer to a customer, and then, you know, the sales folks go and actually execute the deal, whether it is digital or it is physical. When I say digital, you buy online, correct? And when it's physical, you just when you walk into a store, take an example of a Canon. I'm sure you'll talk about it at one point of time. the omni-channel experience. Okay, today if you go and buy or say search for a car, and suppose you're interested in searching a car or buying a car, you go and you do a whole lot of stuff, on the web, look for the models, look for the ratings, look for customer feedback. Now when I say omni-channel, and while you do all this search on a web, and when you walk into a showroom, okay, and by the way, there are examples, and I will quote them, during the course of the discussion. When you go and call out, I am so and so, and the sales guy will say, thank you, Mr. X and YZ. We know that you are planning to buy a car in next 60 days. Your choice is and maybe an electric vehicle. You're looking for electric vehicle of an SUV size, which can drive for 300 kilometers at least, And these are the models available. These are the colors which you clicked on our website. So that's omni-channel. And when you suppose call up the customer helpline, and they'll get to you know with your mobile number, to that level that those tracking do happen. Thank you, Mr. So-and-so, calling us. We know that you're interested in buying so-and-so, product from our site. So it's pervasive. Marketing to BD to sales. And that's how, the lines are blurring, and there's a continuous change in the way sales happen. And this is where, you as young generation needs to be prepared. While what you study in books, we were just discussing, it's relevant, okay? Please do spend some time over there. But then just look at how the technology space is changing, how the consumer behavior is changing. That will make you more relevant in the market.
So selling is pervasive, and selling is pervasive. We learned from him and from the other two speakers very, very well. But what differentiates sellers today is the ability to bring fresh ideas. I think that's a very important key point that came out from the common discussion so far. Another important thing that we understood from Om Batraji was about trying to own the customer. So when you track the customer with using technology, where you're able to look at the entire part of, I think Anubhavji was also telling me before this is a special area of his, and we'll request him once again after we've gone through the discussion with Ganeshji, which is about consumer durable company, a product category which was losing its relevance to youngsters because they were using the mobile phone with sticks and with all kinds of, and everyone became a photographer, but also probably led to the generation of need to go back to serious photography and the other products. I would request Ganeshji to take us through his experiences as a manager in this area of how disruption changed the world of photography and consumer durables in India. Over to him, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, let me touch upon the topic of disruption first. Okay. So if you ask any of the panelists, pre-COVID, post-COVID, during COVID, okay, we have come through 3 phases of it. None of us would be doing the same work what we were doing. So that is something which has happened. What COVID has brought a severe disruption. COVID has also brought a conviction within the sales and marketing groups, I would say. A serious conviction, okay? And I will touch upon that topic a bit later. So disruption is, as I said, we were forced to undo a lot of things and recreate and collaborate, and we had to hear a lot. So you could see a lot of experienced people here, but that experience went almost zero during COVID. We had to do a lot of things. So that is what COVID brought. It is a blessing in disguise. So as Mr. Batra said, you don't need to listen to us. You need to go and wet your feet. That's what we say in sales angle, right? So of course you read a lot of books, good, but you need to also see the realism and what is the real, this one, because we always find that there is a theoretical knowledge, there is an experiential knowledge. But this is the age of consumerism, and that is what the disruption has brought. And so we had to do a lot. And even most as an MNC, most of us represent here, it gave a lot of freedom for most of the MNCs in India, where they said, please go and find your roots. Go and find your this one. Go local. So a lot of things happened. Okay. So a typical an MNC organization or any organization, they would say, yeah, this is what you guys have to do it. But during the COVID and post-COVID, so that type of Indianness, the focus of Indianness came in most of the companies. So now let me touch upon the, you wanted to know about camera. Of course, camera has been always a very debatable product, okay. So it has gone through a curve, it has gone through a lot of things, but we had the conviction that this technology is not going to die. And we are very much this one, because as a manufacturer, as a marketer, it's our job to keep the business and this one. So because we knew mobile phones and camera were only complementing each other. So that is what we have been saying, and most of the camera manufacturers said that. And today, if you see, thanks to the blogging community, there is a very good blogging community and influencer marketing happening, lot of things happening, and everybody needs a camera. They start with a mobile, but when they become a professional, they need to have, they need to own their cameras. And we do a lot of events. We do a lot of this one. But what we find is, the beauty of India is, can we do with some few vloggers sitting in Delhi? No. There is lot of regional bloggers. There is lot of people doing lot of things. And that is why India is too big. And that is something which has made us. Second is serious photography. Serious photography, yes. You know, India is the biggest wedding destination today in the world. Today, people are marketing, and you are seeing a destination wedding is a very famous this one which is catching up in India. It used to be Kerala and Goa, but now everybody is finding a location and saying, yeah, this is the destination wedding. It might not be only Jaipur or Rajasthan. And so much of people coming in from US or UK for destination wedding. And this is where the serious photography comes in. And you got group of professional photographers who take up the assignments. You will not believe, it is an assignment of 30 days. Does it end there? It starts from an engagement to this one. It's a completely, it's a big project itself. And there are so many professionals today in this. So that is why serious photography, if you think a technology is going to fade away, it's not. So it is evolving, it will get evolved, it will continue to evolve. So that is what is the consumerism. So it is not only in a camera, every business is evolving, and the beauty of India is no technology is going to die so fast. It takes a new avatar, and that's how most of the manufacturers and most of this, and it is because the young population in India, that is also coming handy. That is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ganeshji. I think it was very, very interesting to look at a product category which has not only gone through a curve, but also the fact that consumer expectations are changing. I, as a consumer, have changed my son and daughter, and many of you have also transformed into a totally different individual. And everyone is wanting to now have one-to-one marketing. मुझे मेरे लिए क्या है इसमें, है ना? My son stands up and he says, I asked him, what are you going to do now after 12th? He said, definitely not going to become a professor. That part I'm very clear. I'm learning Python, but I might not become a computer engineer. I might learn photography, but also dabble in some theater while studying computer science. I hope, Papa, you know the difference between computer science and computer engineering. The customer is changing. So my question to Anubhavji is about how does one adapt to evolving customer expectations in terms of how it is happening at Ultratech, plus how do you manage your sales team, because now they have to take care of this challenging, evolving, transforming customer, as we were discussing over a cup of tea just before. Over to Anubhavji.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
So this is my address to everybody who's going to pass out, maybe, I don't know, maybe this year or the coming year. See, nothing happens until sales happens. You manufacture the best product, best service on the planet. Until and unless you sell it, there is no revenue. So many people have a negative mindset when you talk about sales, a frontline sales job, after passing out from a premium B school. Initially, you may feel that people who have opted for other careers like branding, something else, they are having a white collar job and I am having a blue collar job. But if you look at the top brass of any organization, almost all of them are people who have, as Sir said, wetted their feet, dirtied their hand, sometimes fell down from buses in their initial years. And this is where the understanding of consumer becomes. Consumer, most of the people, many of the people feel that consumer is a person who is buying. They forget the relationship part. If you want to understand why they are buying, first read Why We Buy by Paco Underhill. Fine. And then make it a point that you spend at least 3 hours a week sitting in Shopper Stop, sitting in Croma, Reliance, Chaos, and not doing something that is written in the book. Why they are buying. What is the factor that a lady who's carrying 15 dresses to be billed in Shopper Stop, and when she sees that the bill value increases with every swipe, so which of the dresses she says, nahi, isko rehne do? And why is she saying that? So understanding consumer will be very detrimental for you, and you need to understand that, yes, I am sure I love talking. I love communicating. And one more caution word, you will be taught a stupid word called as outliers in your data analysis. Do that for the statistics class, but the sooner you forget this stupid word, the better for you. The biggest inventions, the biggest disruptions have been made after those most stupid feedbacks. Try to understand. I'm using a product, I'm giving feedback, and I fit in your scheme of things. I reply what you expect me to reply. That is not innovation. What is innovation? Innovation is a person who teaches quantitative aptitude at Career Launcher in 2002. And then he says to me, हमारा नंबर ले लीजिए, मोबाइल नंबर, कोई बात रहे तो कर लीजिएगा, बार बार मत कीजिएगा, इनकम में बहुत पैसा लगता है, नॉर्मल. And then he gives the number and says ये हज का है. And I say, stupid boy, a stupid person. You have done your MSc mathematics, number हज का है, number हज का तो हज का रहेगा ना. Then 5 years down the line, we understand that there is something called as number portability. So that person had in his mind, if I have a number, then that does not make me to associate with a particular service provider throughout my life. So if I travel Delhi to Bombay and I travel by Indigo, it does not mean that I'll fly all sectors by Indigo. And we need to understand that. That is called as the law of diminishing loyalty. A loyal customer will not remain loyal throughout the life. The preference changes. External environment changes. His thought process changes. So what is the common between all the gyan that we have discussed on consumer? That the more you study, the more you will feel I don't know anything. You don't go by any assumptions. Don't go by any assumption that yes, a salaried person getting a salary between 30 to 50,000 is not a customer of Mobilon. What makes you feel that? What makes you feel that? Don't you understand that the 3-pointed star is the cheapest way to transport him into a league where people feel that yes, he has arrived in life. And what are the other measures? Getting out of a BMW, having a private jet, having a 4 BHK flat in your South Delhi. So what is the cheapest one? A 40,000 bucks Mobilon. So if he has to transport himself into a, yes, I have arrived league, he has to satisfy that need. He will spend his 1 month's salary. And you people who go by statistics, you will just push him out. That yes, he's an outlier. What makes you feel that luxury goods are only for people? If I call about my company for JB5 and above, and if I call in general, कि नहीं ये तो VP and above के लिए है. My sales executive, he drives, Scorpio N, and he's in the salary bracket of 8 lakh rupees. What my point about this is about consumers. Try to understand. You have to come out of consumer behavior books and develop your books for yourself. And let me tell you, let me warn you, it is extremely tough. I have spent 22 years doing that, and still I feel I don't know anything. I love talking. I love observing. I love trying to figure it out that why is that person taking such a decision. In Ultratech Concrete, we have special concretes that solve a certain set of customer problems. As Professor Anjay Gulati says, we are not here to sell what we produce, rather we are here to solve a certain set of customer problems. So that maybe I discuss it here, or when I come for a guest lecture, that I discuss then that what is all about solving a set of customer problems. That is something different. But the common thing is, the most common thing is success or failure in the career of sales and marketing depends on how much you assume and how much is the real data. Everybody is going for market research. Millions of megabytes and gigabytes on data. Who is monitoring that? What is the qualification of that person? What is the interest level of that person in innovation? Does he have the hawk eyes to understand that yes, this is the hole, this is the space between the bricks in the wall, and we are going to keep 1 feet here? So, since I love talking, I love speaking, so I can keep on continuing, but this doesn't make sense. So
we'll come back to Anubji very soon. And I think one of the important things that came out is if you don't take care of your customer, your competitor will. And it's very important to understand the customer in depth. Even if you're in sales, it's not just the prerogative of marketing fellows to look at customer insights. And Lisa Fortini wrote in a book, Hitting the Sweet Spot, where she coined the term customer insights way back in 1977, I think, if I remember correctly. So it's got a very good shift of our discussion from Anubhavji to data-driven marketing. So I'll just shift also the sequence of the questioning to Om Batraji on role of analytics, machine learning, AI, etc. Are you working on this to help companies or yourself to look at how do you do precision marketing to the customers? Over to Om Batraji.
Thank you. A question very near to my heart. In fact, we not only help business customers do data-based, marketing, but analytics. It is, first of all, we eat our own food. Okay. Every decision today, and it is industry agnostic. Okay. Before that, let me make two statements. I'm sure you would have heard Mr. Ambani talk about data as the new oil, correct? And I'm not sure if you have read Mr. Narayan Murthy. He says any decision in Infosys, what we take, is data driven. Okay, there is no decision which is based on perception, which is based on market knowledge. It's all data driven. Now coming back to it. Every single decision, any industry you talk about today is driven by data and insights. Okay. Look at your own, lives. When you buy on, say, Amazon or Flipkart, there are a number of things which will come up for you to actually, recommendation, which is what you call a recommendation engine. What you watch on a Netflix, very similar, content they will throw it to you for you to view. There are few things which, I have to be very careful when I talk in these forums. Whatever you do in your life on a daily basis is so digital. Everything is getting captured. Okay? When you as a group have a conversation, after some time, look at it. Facebook will throw you very similar, advertisements. Say you are talking about buying a car, or you're having a conversation within a group, that voice gets captured because you already agreed for that terms and conditions, by the way, correct? And then, the Facebook will start sending those advertisements to you. What is this? This is data-driven marketing. Every single company is doing it. We do it for ourselves. We help our customers to do it ourselves. Like what he just said, correct? We've got products which suits to a customer's requirement. They're not pure cement, correct? Where it is coming from? It is coming from all the data which is getting captured inside. One more thing. I'm not sure if you would have read somewhere, and probably he can vet that. Today, any mobile phone manufacturer can actually give you a phone free of cost. Very surprising statement, correct? Any manufacturer, mobile phone manufacturer, can give you the phone free of cost, because the amount of data which you produce, okay, the insight which you share with companies, they are eager to buy that data, because what he just mentioned, correct? Individual marketing, need-based marketing. Probably the bunch of people sitting on this side, they're interested in watching something else on Netflix, and what you guys are looking is totally different, correct? So that individual based marketing is all data driven. Forget the consumer side. When you come into an organization, every single decision, whether it is related to sales quota allocation, whether it is related to what you read market segmentation, whether you call it territory division, whether you call it sales quota allocation for a given product line, every single decision is data driven, and all those insights do come in from the data which is available. I'll quote one thing, and it is in public domain. I'll just go back to the Microsoft style of working. So when you make sales forecast, okay, it will be a very surprise for you. So there are two ways of doing it. One is the grounds up. The sellers will actually call out, okay, this is my sales forecast for the month or for the quarter or for the year, correct? And the sum total of it should actually be the call out for the sales forecast. But you will not believe, we have a ML engine which actually throws up the sales forecast for a month, for a week, depending upon the historical data. And very surprisingly, the data which this ML engine throws out is much more accurate than what the field sales guys give it. Why? Because ultimately when the field salesperson is actually calling out a forecast, there is an element of doubt, there is an element of perception, there's an element of conviction. But the historical data which is available, okay, what that crunches and throws out is the reality, because that has already happened, correct? It is on a history. It's not on perception. Again, every single decision today is being taken inside, outside, consumer driven, internal driven, business decision is purely on data and analytics.
Thank you very much. I think it was a very enlightening experience in terms of listening to Mr. Om Batra about how data, and especially must be true of the students who are sitting here, to look at how the forecasting happens from bottom to top and top to bottom, something that I teach in sales and distribution management with such a conviction that he talked about this particular understanding of how this forecast has to then match or maybe superior to, in some cases, to the sales field sales force. To carry the same topic further, I would request Prasoon ji to also talk about this data a little bit more in terms of the structured data, because I was talking to this cousin of mine who was working with Airtel. He said, यार तेरे को समझाता हूँ ये CRM क्या होती है. So I kept quiet because I didn't want to tell him that I have delved into marketing for 30 years. So he was telling me that there is a traditional CRM system, and now companies are looking at social CRM and so-called unstructured data. How does Intel work at this, and how are you helping or looking at companies in the tech space look at this structured and unstructured data and to be able to do more precision sales? Because sales is becoming very tough and challenging, as we heard the illustrious speakers from Canon, from Ultratech, and from Microsoft. Over to Prasoonji.
So I'll not talk particularly about Intel, but there are two industries which are very close to my heart. There are two industries which are very close to my heart. One is retail and the other is insurance. So I'll talk about two of them. So first, insurance. If you see how insurance as a industry has evolved, right? And you must have seen ads on the television that Maruti is kind of talking about how do you kind of measure the driving behavior of a consumer. What insurance companies are also doing, for example, health insurance companies or term insurance companies are also doing, they are tracking your lifestyle, right? So if I'm a health insurance consumer, I have taken a 1 crore term insurance. They have access to my Facebook timelines, my Instagram, my lot of digital data that digitization has made it very easy for them to access, right? So my car insurance is dependent on my social behavior, how safe driver I am, right? How many times in a week do I go partying, right? How many times a week do I consume alcohol, right? All those kind of things are trackable, right? The consumer knows that, and the companies also know, right? That's why probably my insurance will be slightly higher than somebody else who's a teetotaler, right? At the same time, in terms of retail, I'm not sure if you guys know this, but if you look at the billboards all around the city, they are tracking you when you're looking at them. And they are capturing the eyeballs that you're giving, and they are kind of collecting all of that data all throughout the day. There are retail POSMs which kind of track when you enter a store, what do you first do, how many steps do you take, where do you look first, how do you look, what is it that interests you, which kind of color interests you. All of that is trackable information. What it also means is the consumer is also becoming very demanding, right? I am a customer of a very large bank for the last 20 years now. But when the customer sales exec kind of calls me, I expect certain kind of understanding, right? That the first sentence that they will say is with an understanding that they are talking to somebody who has been with 20 years with a bank, and there is a behavior that is kind of leading me to continue with the bank. So the customer knows, right, that he is being tracked. At the same time, and the customer also knows that when I am interacting with you, I expect that you know me better. Because if you kind of talk to me for 10 minutes and you don't sell something relevant, most of us kind of put the phone down, right? So it's kind of very, very important. With digitization, tracking is very, very easy, but at the same time, understanding the data is very difficult because the amount of data that you're generating on a daily basis is immense.
Just 30 seconds by the way, one clarity. Me and Prasoon are not connected. We just met here for the first time. He mentioned about two things, and I'll give you real-time examples. When you drive on Delhi-Gurgaon highway, and there's a flyover on the Udyog Vihar, correct? On the left-hand side, there's an NBN mall. On the left-hand side is the billboard, which reads, this billboard has the maximum eyeballs. And they actually display the number of eyeballs. I was not aware what he just spoke about. And then I actually searched, why and how come they are sort of displaying the eyeballs. And that's correct. Each billboard today has become intelligent. It is actually capturing our eyeballs, how many eyes are actually looking at those billboards. And the second element, the first element which he said, I'm sure most of you will not believe, but that's the reality. I recently got my car insurance renewed, and I got a higher premium to pay. And when I asked them what's the reason, they say on your Facebook from last 5 years you have been driving on hills and you have been recording videos, and that's a huge risk to you as a human being, and as well as your car. So that's the reality of today.
Thank you very much. I think I remember a very recent anecdote. It's kind of funny. One of my old aunts came home and she said, "Yeah, Wi-Fi jara band kare jara." In Punjabi, native Punjabi. So what will happen? They Google sun raha hai. You have been to Google, so I don't know if it's true or not, but Batraji can tell me later. The point I'm trying to drive across here is, and has been driven by Prasoonji, is that more you track the customer, more you are able to service the customer well. It is not the job of a marketeer, only the brand manager, to create those insights and then pass them on to you, and your job is just to do cold calling, and that's the impression given generally in an MBA school, which is not correct. I think the world is moving at such a fast pace. While I've talked to you, most of the instruments that I handle at home must have been obviously outdated, even if I bought them yesterday. So I'm going to request Ganeshji to take us through another interesting topic, not just data. He has the choice to talk about data, or also about the fact that a company like Canon looks at connecting people together, right? And in this data-driven world, there is this need for all of us to be self-determined, my goals, This is how the young people look at the world, as I see them around me every day, and in a very exciting manner I look at that. But when you liberate that customer from that so-called self-determination and start co-creating with the customer, you have run a lot of campaigns which are co-creating customers with, even the EOS photo chain campaign that you ran. So I would request you to throw light on two small aspects. One, data-driven marketing, and how do you look at co-creation with the customer while you are servicing their needs in a very, very competitive industry like where Canon is placed. Over to Ganesh Kumarji.
Yeah. See, today data is it is part and parcel of any sales or marketing professional. Okay. So many times the interpretation of data becomes a bigger challenge. All right. So you might read the data in a different form. I might read the data in a different form. But we need to respect each other with our thought process. Why I'm saying this is, I come from a multi-distribution business model, right? So I have a distributor. I might have a second layer. I might have a third layer in the distribution, and finally it meets the end consumer, right? So what happens is, now, gone are the days where we used to tell our sellers, this is how you need to position your products. But now it's the other way around. Okay, so now as a brand owner, as a principal company, we are at the receiving end. We need to listen to these people. Why? Because they have the data with them. This is what is happening. So gone are the days, a few years ago, we used to tell them, please position the products like this. No. Okay, does it end here? Till the last mile, it goes. Okay, so a few days ago, I was, we use a lot of product promoters. These product promoters are stationed in many of the retail outlets. And now, few years ago, we never used to even listen to them or consider them. Obviously, they are very important people, the promoters. Okay, so we deploy promoters. But now, we go and listen to the promoters, and the promoters have wealth of information with them. So the data is everywhere. It is top down or bottom up. It is. And does it end? So that is why it keeps evolving. So data which I have 2 months ago becomes very fast redundant. I can't use it. Okay. Now I heard Mr. Batraji talking about the war between sales and marketing, right? So I'm sure the topic is there. But I would like to also tell here, my marketing folks know much better than me. Okay, because the data is available. The data is available, it is available real time. So gone were the days where there used to be a lag in the information of getting this data 1 week or 1 month. We used to wait for a data. Today it is connected. And the good thing is there is a linkage between the principal to the consumer. So the data is there. So that is why it is. So any forecasting mechanism, okay, before the sales guy comes with a forecast, my marketing folks, they have a forecast with them. I need to only moderate. So that level of predictability has come in. So why? This is because of data. So this will never end here. Okay, this will never end here. At times it becomes chaotic also, because we feel that everybody is into the sphere of data. So, but the good thing is there is a realistic. This one everybody is now getting into it, and that insights are there. Earlier, a salesperson's feedback used to be a golden moments for a marketer. It is not so now, right? So at the same time, for a marketer, the salesperson knows much better than a marketer, and he can tell you how good you need to plan your campaigns. So it is both the way around. So that is why data is definitely calling the shots now. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ganeshji, for explaining that data part and also clearing our doubts on this classic Harvard Business reading on the two aspects of sales and marketing war, which I'm sure you'll be learning in the sales and distribution management, the first reading that you'll be going through. I think he's raised very, very important aspects apart from the learned discussion and a very enriched discussion we've had so far. One was the role of a channel partner and also sales promoter. So data is not, you know, what happens with too much data? 90% of profiles, which are CRM profiles, in Europe get lost every year. So while everyone is talking in conferences about data-driven marketing, one point that he made was very, very attractive to listen to. The data changes. It gets lost otherwise. The profile of the customer that you thought was yesterday has changed tomorrow. So in a dynamic world where obsolescence is striking so fast, I still remember, you know, when I get hassled by the environment around me in IMI or at home, I start thinking, kitne achhe din the, you know, parents must also be speaking like that to you. Jab black and white TV hota tha, आधा घंटा आता था चित्रहार, and now the world has changed so fast. So I think it's very, very important to also keep track of the data and the obsolescence of the data. While everyone, we have so many experts here on data mining and looking at how to put the data in a presentable form, because that becomes the backbone for sales. The issue is not marketing or sales. The issue is, do you need data to be able to do a precision? How do you own the customer, which Patraji was talking about, unless you have complete information about? So Ganeshji threw up a very, very important. I also wanted to request him. We started 10 minutes late. Can we go on till 6:40, because the council is fine, but you had to leave somewhere. So is that okay? All right, wonderful. So now I have everyone's permission to take. So the next, I think the next important issue. Yes.
Just 30 seconds on, you know, what he just said. The real-time examples will help you correlate the things, okay? He said data is real-time, okay? You heard people saying sales professional is changing. I'll give you an example. If you subscribe to a LinkedIn sales navigator, and if you are a B2B seller, okay? Imagine, you know, just imagine that you are, suppose, whatsoever, you sell a health CRM or maybe a medical equipment, and you're trying to meet a buyer. Okay, let's stick to a healthcare sector. Suppose you are selling, say, some medical equipment, you are meeting a big you know, shot in a buyer in, say, in any of the hospitals. Real-time data before you enter into a meeting. Your meeting calendar will say you are meeting Mr. So-and-so Subramaniam, okay? He's connected with you on LinkedIn via this and this mechanism. Even if you're not connected, they'll give you a common reference point. In last 30 days, and just using, you know, some referenceable data, not calling out people's name. This gentleman has actually searched for this particular medical equipment so many times on LinkedIn or on social media. Okay, he has visited so many websites, say from GE Healthcare or Wipro Healthcare. He's looked at these things. He has consulted with so many people on a given device. Okay, and you all have that intelligence before you enter into the room. And when you start having that conversation, you know, and by the way, whatever I'm sharing is a real-time example, okay? What we do normally. So you get into a very interesting conversation with the buyer. The buyer says, "Isko sab pata hai," you know. Sorry for using slang language, but that's the impression. That means you're a smart seller. And it's all data, real-time database conversation which you are having. The moment you tell you are looking for so and so machines, you've looked at so many demos, you looked at so many models, this is what you're planning to buy, I can advise you on so and so.
Thank you very much, Umbatra ji. So
May I add
yeah, sure.
a bit
Please go ahead. Yeah.
So
Make it more interesting, actually.
because now we are seeing most of us in many of the organizations, we are being pushed to get into some data science as a subject. Okay, so data science is a mandate in many organizations where you have coach or a lot of people. All right. So yes, this is becoming a compulsive need now. Right. So now some applications like a freeware, like a Power BI, or even Microsoft must be having an equivalent. But what is happening is those applications are really now having a very good intervention in many of the organizations and many of this. But do you know how to use it? Right. So now that data science is becoming definitely this one. So that is the buzzword everywhere we are seeing. Okay, in many organizations they do a lot of programs and a lot of things. But since you guys are also coming in this, so it would be worthwhile for you to have this one, that this is going to be definitely a part of a curriculum. You must be having it, but it is a necessity. So that's what I would want to tell you. Yeah.
Very much, Ganeshji, for those words. My next question is going back to Anubhavji, although I wanted to start with Prasoonji, but because this point that got picked up, I was just reading reading something on agile supply chain and asked one of the speakers who came recently to my class in SDM, and he was working with Accenture and works on the agile supply chain. And तो मैंने उसको बोला यार होती क्या है एक बारी बता के जा थोड़ा, मतलब I'm not, my fundamentals on my supply chain from MBA were very different from how it's happening today. Although I know a little bit about it and I've read this recently, a book on it. So he said, agility is not just there in supply chain, it's also there in sales and in everything. So I would request Anubhavji to take us through a product category that requires a supply chain because it's an integral part of sales and distribution management and business development. So I would like him to be brief on this, and we'll come back to him again on another small topic because we'd like to finish it at 6:30 plus the question answers for next 10 minutes. So we'll do what is called now a small round of quick fire 2 minutes points.
So I come from cement industry, and cement is a logistics based product. So what is the definition of a logistics based product? The price per unit weight is less. So if I were to import gold from Dubai to India, so probably I would not be worried about the cartage, fine, because gold sells at somewhere around 50 lakhs per kg. But when I deal with commodities, or when I deal with substances which sell for rupees 7 a kg, which sell for rupees 10 a kg, so it becomes very important for me to supply them at the lowest cost. Getting my point? So Ultratech has got numerous cement integrated plants, grinding units, bulk terminals spread all over the nation, at least if I don't talk about the overseas plants of Ultratech. So there are machines to decide, there are softwares to decide, like an order for certain cement bags is punched. Then there may be 3 or 4 or more plants linked to the same pin code. But how to decide that I supply from which plant, through which mode, by rail, by direct 400 bags truck, or through a trawler of 1000 bags, which then gets transported by secondary freight in small trucks. So from where to supply, how to supply. The point is, first is the lowest cost, and second is customer commitment. So if I were to be a customer driven company, if I were to into pleasing the customer with my service, if I feel that I am ranking a bit low in customer service, then I would put the agenda of lowest cost a bit down and would start looking into timings also. So this is something about cement, which is a product which is a shelf life. Now coming to my product category, which is ready mix concrete. It is a wet product. It does not have a shelf life. Once produced in the plant, if you don't use it within 3 to 4 hours, it will set. It will become stone. Okay? So here it becomes more tricky. How? Example, Gurgaon. I have got 6 ready mix concrete plants in Gurgaon, in Naurangpur, in Khandsa, in Badshahpur, some like that, in Manesar, Bhiwadi also. So many sites can be serviceable from 4 or 5 plants. Now the question comes, what is the loading at that plant, at a particular plant going on? How soon it can supply? And as the product does not have a shelf life, what in the case of some unforeseen at site that the supply is stopped? So all the trucks on the way to the site, either the material has to be wasted or they have to be diverted to some other site. So it is not like that I have to send 50 trucks to Trump Towers and I dispatch 50 trucks in one go. I'll dispatch 3, the pumping operation starts, something like that. And then I have to make it sure that there is a steady flow. So agile is a word that is not new for us. Especially we being in a commodity industry, in a logistics based industry. So it becomes very important to maintain customer satisfaction and to maintain minimum wastage. We keep on changing the plans, sometimes without the information to many stakeholders. Got my point? Thank you.
Thank you for those very nice and quick comments on this agility. I would like to take this discussion on the agile on a slightly different context to a technology product. I was reading this old book, I'm sure you would have come across, Direct to Dell by Michael Dell. And I certainly learned that there was another kind of a model of sales which was using Intel, which was using Samsung screen and so on and so forth. And certainly Michael Dell also started going down the Dell technology. And then the role of agile supply chain became very, very important. So I'd like to very quick 2 minutes answer from Prasunji on how do you use this at Intel, or any other example you'd like to bring from your professional life.
So again, if you look at technology products, right, you can produce a smartphone or a laptop in less than 10 minutes. But if you have to get all the components together, you have to plan at least 3 or 4 months in advance, right? For example, Diwali is coming, right? I'm sure there will be millions of smartphones sold, millions of laptops sold. But each and every component has a different life cycle, right? So a screen kind of takes X amount of time. The keyboard takes X amount of time. What it's important is to kind of plan in such a manner that the components will come into the factory at a one given point in time. And it's very difficult. But at the same time, with the kind of patterns and cycles that sales as well as technology companies have been able to match, they have been kind of predicted with certain amount of certainty that this is X amount of things that we would need at any given point in time. I think a couple of companies which are doing really well in this segment are the likes of your e-commerce companies like Flipkart and Amazon, right? What Flipkart and Amazon do is kind of not only match the sales cycles, but also look at patterns of your consumers, right? So if I'm a consumer, I'm based in Gurgaon, what is my likelihood of ordering a product which is in Badshapur and not in Bhiwandi, right? If I'm looking at a catalog and I'm seeing red shirt, yellow shirt, white shirt, this and that, they kind of go and match it with my buying behavior, right? And that's how they kind of do predictive ordering, right? To the very last decimal, almost accurate. And that's why you see most of your orders, even in Big Billion Day or Great India Sales, kind of get delivered on time because they are lying at a warehouse which is very near to the vicinity of the consumer and how they are able to predict all of that. So it's kind of very fascinating. It's kind of very interesting that you are able to pinpoint and almost predict a consumer behavior basis a lot of things that the consumer is doing during the day.
Such an insightful answer, just like Anubhavji. I would not put more comments, but quickly go to Ganeshji for a 2-minute quick repartee on the part of how you have a what is called a Omni channel. You are right now, I think, handling modern trade, if I'm right. How do you see the difference in terms of this agility working for 3 different kinds of customers, institutional, modern trade, or even at a at an individual exclusive showrooms?
So what I see is there is very soon, now there is a very clear distinction what you see as e-commerce or maybe as a traditional retail chain or a B2B. But with few years from now, everything will get merged. That's what is called the omni-channel. That's it. That's happening actually. A retailer is also having his own e-commerce sites. He has enabled his e-commerce. It is a necessity. It is not a luxury today. So this type of things are happening. So when we talk about agility, there is, I don't think there's a choice. So change management is a must, and it's a continuous process. It is not a one-time this one, which is going to happen. So now, as any distribution company today, what is happening is everybody wants to delay the structure. Gone were the days where the brand owner was shying away from meeting the consumer directly. So Mr. Bhattaraji talked about direct to Dell. In India, it's still not possible because of stratified supply chain. But today what is happening is, I read an article just yesterday in Mint. It said that the consumer appetite of tier 3, tier 4 towns is equivalent to tier 1 and tier 2. So how different it is. So we thought the top 50 towns calls the real, this one, they are the premium customers. Now it is moving the other way around. So that is where the agility. So how do I this one? So I need to keep the layer of distribution relevant if it serves a purpose. So I heard him saying about this one e-commerce companies. It's a wealth of information when you work with them. You can't stand their levels of change and levels of speed. They can, if I meet them 2 months ago and I go and meet them again, I completely see a completely new dimension coming in. It's so difficult to get ourselves adapted to them. But why? Because they want to be closest to the consumer, and they want, and as he said, same day delivery. So earlier, some few months ago, they were talking about same day delivery in 20 towns. Now they're talking about same day delivery in 300 towns. How is it possible? So that means as a brand owner, I need to keep pace with that. So then agility definitely comes in. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'll request Bhattaraji to be very brief in the last question, because I want 1 minute, very quick repartee on the KPIs, because the young people are going to be finding a job in sales and marketing in near future. So over to him, and then we'll move on to the KPI part, and then we'll open it for question answers.
Sure. See, I'm the biggest believer of, learning from the surroundings. You heard about the cement industry, the agile, logistics and consumer durable, the Dell model. You should read this book, Direct from Dell stuff. It's a fantastic book. But the epitome of, agile logistics. Just look at 2 or 3 examples. Blinkit, delivery in 10 minutes. That's their mantra. Correct? You give an order, 10 to 12 minutes get delivered. When you today book a taxi, you look at Uber, Ola. Ola taking 12 minutes. Uber 5 minutes, I'll book an Uber. So that's agile logistics. Look at Country Delight. Learning from the surroundings. You order in the night, the goods get delivered morning at your home. They don't even ring the bell. That's where we arrived today. And you know what? My daughter recently shifted to US. She calls me and says, यहाँ पे Blinkit नहीं है. Imagine.
Thank you very much. We'll now do a half a minute to 1 minute very quick fire round on on KPIs. How do you look at your sales team KPIs? What is your advice to these young people? How should they start looking at this preparation for this modern sales world, which is going to open up the doors for the marketing domain? We'll start from Anubhavji and quickly.
First and foremost is the deliverables. That there is no compromise on that. Whatever targets regarding top line, bottom line, whatever product percentage of total sale is given, that is sacrosanct. But everybody is doing it. There are very few people who say that who underperform, but few of them move ahead. Few of them get confirmed. Few of them move to the role of assistant manager. Why? It is about the confidence that you carry about yourself, about the product. No, none of the above two. About the customer. The volumes you speak about researching about the customer and then you speak in the organization is the biggest differentiation between a good salesman, an average one, and the poor one. So it comes back to the drawing board. It comes back to the quality of sales. Quantity is there because it is how the organizations run. But whether you are ready for the next step, are you ready? That is the point. Thank you.
Yeah, quickly, I think KPIs, this used to be a big nomenclature when we started our careers, but nowadays KPI is dynamic. Let me tell you, because KPIs used to be 20 years ago discussed at the time of setting and at the time of appraisal. But now these days KPIs are dynamics, and there, thanks to SaaS, there are a lot of applications which are creating the linkage of KPI and also to see whether the KPI what you have said is relevant or do we need to change the KPI. Obviously, in any sales and marketing organization, the growth is definitely an epitome. The top line is in this one, but if you look at where the challenge comes is on the qualitative metrics. So that is where it is. So according to me, the KPI is dynamic. So for youngsters, we can't go and fix some hard and fast rules and scare you, because you guys come for a very bright career.
So sales is a commitment, Prasoonji. According to these two gentlemen, what do you think about the KPIs from the point of view of a selling career, and how is it happening in your company now?
So I think from a sales standpoint, I strongly believe for any sales guy, your destiny is in your hands, right? If you kind of meet the numbers, the sky is the limit. But at the same time, I think from my personal opinion perspective, I think one thing that you should always keep in mind, it's always cheaper to continue with the same customer rather than acquire a new one, right? So how do you keep the existing customer happy and glued to your product or a company or an organization rather than make them shift to the competitor? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Great. Just 15 seconds and I'll add to what these gentlemen just said. Sales KPIs will define your variable salary. Okay? Sales KPI will define your variable salary, how much money you make. And how much money you make or how do you meet your sales KPIs will depend upon how customer centric you are. Customer satisfaction is an epitome of any KPI which I as an individual look at, and trust me, every sales metric will fall in place.
So I go back to my favorite quote, which is it's not it's not dangerous to aim too high and miss it, but very dangerous to aim too low and get it always. We'll now throw it open for discussion, very quick questions. I think there must be some student team handling their questions in terms of the mic, etc. So we throw it open for discussions. You can throw it open for the entire panel, or you could also choose the person whom you want to get the answer from.
Yeah, so good evening everyone. So my question is to Om sir. So you told us about winning the customer. So you told us about winning the customer. So for any startup company, it's a big challenge to win the trust of a customer, right? So obviously it's a long journey for them. So can you guide us what an approach should be, or how to overcome these challenges for a startup?
Can't be answered in less than 2 minutes, but I'll attempt. Okay, I think it's about winning the customer trust, as I said. Okay, it's about winning the customer trust. If you have been able to win the customer trust, and look at India today, correct? We are having the highest number of startups, and look at the number of unicorns that we have produced, and look at the ones which are actually successful. I will not name them because they have won the customer's trust.
When you talk about adding value, then you should really add value. If Chayos sells tea for 90 rupees, which is available for 15 rupees outside the Chayos, then you should really make the person who is coming and having 90 rupees tea, he must really feel happy when he goes out, that yes, the money is worth spent. And that is customers. And that is what sir is saying, customer trust. So it is not value addition as per the promoter. It is as per the consumer. Does he feel that yes, he has paid the right price? And that comes from differentiation and understanding the value proposition.
Good evening, sir. So my question is, you mentioned about digital transformation, and how do you think that AI and digital transformation is affecting the cement industry? Like, what role is that playing in it?
We are very nascent in AI and machine learning because we were quite a few years ago, just commodity sellers like mandi. अरहर का दाल रेट ये है, पेट्रोल का दाम ये रेट ये है, सोने का दाम है ना. So now since we have evolved to be a solution seller, up till 4 years ago, 3 years ago, our tagline was the engineers of cement, and now we are the building solutions company. So we have evolved from a seller to a solution provider. So when we have evolved, so we need to understand, we have many more products in our kitty. So it makes sense to pitch the right product, because we assume that a customer who is looking for building products is not a civil engineer, is not an architect, he's a layman, person who is spending money, and his aim is to construct a beautiful thing that gives him joy for years to come. So if there is some intelligent mechanism that suggests him the correct bouquet of products, that is what has been worked upon, and as I said, we are still in the nascent phase of it.
Yes, we had a question from there. Yes, yeah. Kindly be small targeted question. Yes.
So, good evening, speakers, and thank you for the session. My question is to Prasoon sir. So, you were instrumental for the go-to-market strategy for the Flipkart for the online sales of mobile phones, especially during the time when we did not have access to technology and the data that we have right now. So, how and what are the two things that I would like to know about? Right, especially, during the time, 2002, when the consumer wasn't aware of the online sales, and the trust issue especially wasn't there. So how did you capture that?
So there were a couple of factors which kind of made us decide on Flipkart, right? One was how do you kind of disrupt the market, right? If you kind of keep on doing the same thing again and again, the likelihood of you kind of doing something different or something disruptive is very less. So one thing was, how do you kind of go to the customer directly and kind of get them hooked to your product in, say, 24 hours, right? That was one thing. The other was the kind of business model, the kind of evolution that Flipkart kind of brought to the retail market. We had not seen that before, right? People kind of said that we were crazy, but it's history now. The most important part is the idea was to kind of disrupt the whole smartphone selling in the country, and that was something that kind of made us decide on Flipkart.
So we can squeeze in one more question. I think we're coming to the end of the session now. Yes, please. Yeah, quickly. Please be brief in your questioning.
So my question is for Ganesh. So we have seen that there are image squares, stores happening around all over India. So how they have played an instrumental role in increasing the sales of Canon series, like EOS series and R series, and then getting customers back to the Pixma series as well of printers which you have. So that is the kind of thing I'm looking at.
The quantum of information you have is too much. Okay. See, Image Square is an experiential store. Okay. So it has gone through a lot of this one because first is like any other brand owner, we were 15 years ago, you will not believe the speed at which we opened up an Image Square was very high. So then we learned that can it be only a product store or should it be a solution store, right? So that is where we came across whether the consumer is expecting a solution than buying a product. Okay, so then it has turned into a solution store. It is this one. Okay, so Pixma again is Pixma is our inkjet printers. So that is completely this one. So it has gone into a multi-dimensional this one. So today, thanks to the e-commerce, it has defeated the purpose of experiential purchase, because even now we still feel a camera needs to be bought at a store, but the consumer is has the conviction that he knows and he can go and buy it anywhere he wants. So earlier people used to keep questioning, saying that a 1 lakh camera, will somebody go to an e-commerce and buy? But today it is the other way around. Still the offline channels are doing extremely well, but if there is an informed consumer and he has the confidence, he can. So what I would like to tell you is, now from e-commerce, there's something called new commerce. He talked about Blinkit, right? So now it is moving one step ahead. So now can we stay with this e-commerce? No, it is with the new commerce, and there is a lot of things, because there are consumers who are buying from Facebook, they are buying from Instagram. Instagram is becoming a bigger source of buying purchase of products. So that is how it is. So experiential. So Pixma Zone or your Image Square is all about the experiential learning. Yeah.
So our questioning ends, but I'd like Batraji to talk about experiential marketing in half a minute or a minute. Very quick remarks. इनके question में नहीं. वैसे ही, what do you think is the role for experiential marketing coming into play in a company like Microsoft? It's about customer experience that I'm asking.
See, customer experience is supreme, as I said, correct? Again, I'll repeat myself. Look at your surrounding. And I'm a biggest believer, learn from your surrounding. Look at Uber, look at Country Delight, look at Blinkit. It is customer experience which is driving the businesses, which is driving the new business models altogether, correct? And I leave this thought with you. Don't look into books. Don't look into search engines. Just look at your surroundings, and you will find that experiential marketing is today. It's there. It's not futuristic.
So I'd like to thank the speakers for wonderful insights. Also the student community represented by the council, and also the academic secretaries who organized this particular event. And large number of other students who are behind the back, so I don't know whom to thank right now. Victor Hugo once said, nothing is as strong as an idea whose time has come. Now my take on the same quote is, nothing is as worst as if it's the only idea we've got. Thank you very much, speakers, and thank you very much, students, for such a wonderful interaction that we've had with corporates here.
I would hand it over to the presenters who've been very kind and patient, and thanks a ton to them. Yes, over to you.
As we draw the curtains on this insightful summit focused on business and sales, I am struck by the depth of knowledge and expertise that has been shared across in this short span of time. Our heartfelt thanks go out to our distinguished guest speakers, whose wisdom and insights have illuminated our paths towards proactive opportunity. I request Dr. Batra to come on stage and felicitate Mr. Om Batra. Thank you, sir.
Now I would like to call Mr. Prasoon Sharma on stage for felicitation.
I would like to call upon Mr. Ganesh Kumar on stage for felicitation.
Mr. Anubhav Kumar Jain on stage for felicitation.
I would like to call Ayush Mishra, Secretary, to felicitate Dr. D.K. Batra, sir.
We extend our deepest appreciation to our insightful moderator, Mr. D.K. Batra sir, whose skillful guidance enriched our discussion. And not to forget our engaged audience, the thoughtful question and a spirited exchange has elevated the discourse, leaving indelible mark on our collective pursuit of agility in seizing opportunity.
As we leave this summit, let us carry forward the lessons learned and continue to walk the talk with newfound vigor and adaptability. Together, we embark on a journey of transformation, confident that the seeds of opportunity which we have sown here will bear fruit in the days ahead. We are honored to announce our esteemed partners and sponsors for Conventus 2023 at IMI New Delhi. This support and collaboration have been instrumental in making this event a resounding success. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to Phoenix Global, Record Studios, RPSG, Fresca, Power Grid Corporation of India, The Hindu, Easy Diner, Silgo Retail Limited, Orient Electric, Business Standard, MS Sham Stores, Belgian Waffles, The Tarzan Way, Sehgal Doors, Safe Express, Bank of India, ICICI Bank, Caploads, Adda 52 and Mad Over Donuts.
Once again, thank you all for being part of this enriching experience. We look forward to future collaboration as we forge ahead towards a future defined by proactive opportunity and unwavering agility. Now, I request organizing body and student council to come on stage for a group photograph.